Welcome back. This time we're talking about Ready Player One, directed by Steven Spielberg and based on the best-selling novel by Ernest Cline, who co-wrote the film's screenplay with Zac Penn. Now I have to say I'm really conflicted about this movie. When I review films, I do my best to come at them from the most objective point I can. And looking at this film from that point of view, I can say that it's a pretty decent movie with great special effects, solid direction, quality performances, and an interesting story. But I also can't ignore the fact that I'm a huge fan of Ernest Cline's novel. And from the point of view of a fan, this movie greatly disappointed me. Because it essentially strips away everything except the bare bones of the story and gives us a new one. One that fits into a film runtime better, but also one that I just found highly inferior compared to what we got in the book. This is another film I went to go see with my friend Sarah. She's also a big fan of the book, and she was also very disappointed in the movie that we got. Now, I don't pretend to speak for all fans of the novel, but I just know from our point of view, this was a disappointing movie from the point of view of a fan. But if you have not read the book, I think there's still a lot to enjoy with this film. It's just not the one I was hoping or expecting to get. If you've seen any of the trailers, you know that the story is set in 2045 and follows a young man named Waithe Watts. In this world, the internet has essentially grown to a fully virtual reality system called the Oasis, and Waithe is basically lives most of his life in the Oasis. It's never really mentioned in the movie, but in the book he even goes to school there. He pretty much spends all his time in virtual reality. Playing with his friend H, and being a gunter, which is short for an egg hunter, because the guy who created the Oasis, a man named Halliday, played in the film by Mark Rylance, he died 5 years before the start of the movie, and he left a series of clues leading to this Easter egg, and the first person to find it will gain control of the Oasis, the company that runs it, and essentially a wealth of trillions of dollars. So there's a lot of people out there trying to figure out these challenges to get through this race. And through the course, Waithe becomes one of the leaders in this race, which brings him a lot of attention, both from other gunters, including a young woman named Artemis, who's one of the more famous female gunters, as well as the leader of this company that is essentially trying to win the race so they can gain control of the Oasis for commercial and financial reasons. And the leader of that company is played by Mendelsohn. And that's sort of the setup. Let me say right off, visually this film is stunning. They do a phenomenal job of making this virtual world where all of our characters are playing these various avatars, from more or less human looking to like a troll to pretty much anything and anyone you could imagine. Someone is that character, and there's a humongous amount of pop culture references spanning the decades. Comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, you name it, there's probably a reference to it somewhere in there. And like I said, visually they do a phenomenal job. It is nearly flawless, the way they are able to make us believe that this world is real. And so hats off to that. Again, really, really nice job. I also thought the performances were pretty solid, since so much of the film takes place in a virtual world. I'm not sure if they did motion capture, but a lot of it's essentially voice work, and that holds up very well. Not all actors can pull off good voice work. They did that here very well. Pretty much the cast all across the board is solid. And the story, independent of the story that was told in the book compared to the movie, I think holds up pretty well. There are some transitions and developments that I felt didn't quite work without the knowledge of what happened in the book. There's just some characters just happen to show up without very little explanation of how they got there or really why. Obviously, with a movie, you're going to have to speed things up. The movie is 2 hours, 20 minutes long. It never felt slow to me at all. It actually felt, like I said, rather fast-paced, almost too much so. Because there is a lot from the book that they're trying to get in some version. Now, I'm going to have to talk about it. Like I said, the bare bones of the book's story, which is Wade Watts trying to win this race to the Easter egg, that's there. The Oasis and his friends and the basic characters, they're there. But with the exception of a handful of scenes that were relatively close to how it happened in the book, and a few that were actually pretty much straight from the book. And then the ending, the last challenge, is more or less how it happened in the book. All of the other individual events, the challenges themselves that he had to go through are completely different from what we got in the book. And I didn't like it. I wanted the book. I liked the book for a reason. Even in the teaser trailer, the Comic-Con teaser trailer for this film, they referred to Ernest Cline's book as the Holy Grail of pop culture, which probably should have been a clue, because really his book is a holy grail to the 1980s pop culture. It is a love letter to the film, television, movie, games, you name it, of the 1980s. It was very specific because Halliday in the book loved the 80s. So the clues were seeped in 80s pop culture. The movie, the clues are more specifically about Halliday's life. So the geekiness of the book is very much diluted in the movie. They go from the more mainstream pop culture references that you could get, and they definitely span well beyond the 1980s. So that geeky, just, this is my book as a geek, just didn't come through as well in the movie. They definitely mainstreamed it, which I guess I should have seen coming, but it was more about, again, the more mainstream pop culture references. There is one reference at the end that is pretty well, like, even I would not have known it if I had not read the book, but they do it in a way that it makes sense, where even if you're not familiar with that particular reference, it makes sense within the context of the story. So as a whole, I think the story does hold up in the movie. There are some points where the connective tissue between scenes and getting characters in certain situations didn't really hold up that well for me. So I don't rate movies. That's not what I do on this channel. But if I had to, just for clarity's sake, for this review, I'd say I'd probably give the movie a B, maybe B minus. As an adaptation, I would give it a D. Because it's not the fact that the individual events are changed, it's the fact that the point of the book, the references, and just just collecting of 1980s pop culture is just so diluted that it's there, it's ever present, but it's never the core like it is in the book. So again, if you're a fan of the book, I'm not going to say don't go see it. Definitely go see it and make your own opinion on it. If you're not a fan of the book, I think there's a lot you can find enjoyment out of here. There's some story issues here or there that pretty much you're going to find in any blockbuster type movie that this is. It's definitely better than a lot of blockbuster movies. You've got the Spielberg directing stamp on there. I mean, it looks great. You've got a great cast. There's a lot to like about this movie if you're willing to put aside the fact that this film is very, very different from the book. And unfortunately for both myself and my friend Sarah, when we went to go see it, we couldn't really do that. We left very disappointed. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't put this review up right away. I really needed to take a step back and reflect on it. I did not have the opportunity to go see it again. But I was able to kind of step away and let the fanboy go to the side for a minute so I can give you an honest and mostly objective review. And that's hopefully what you just got here. So for now, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you've seen Ready Player One, what did you think about it? And are you a fan of the book, or have you never read the book? And how did that impact your enjoyment of the movie? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.